and record, right? Recording. Hey, all
Okay.
right. Here we go.
Let me formally
Yes.
welcome all of you, and I want this to be a conversation. So if you have some questions as you go along, it's fine with me if you want to ask them as we're going, or you can wait until, I don't know, some other time to do it. Don't be shy. I'm going to start with a short reading from the book. It's called the Dear Reader Letter. All of the books that I've written and am still writing start with a Dear Reader Letter. It's a very personal thing from me to my readers. So I just want you to hear this. Dear reader, I want to welcome you to my book and to tell you straight away why your being here matters so much. You were meant to know yourself as a much grander, you might even say divine, being than you are right now able to know. It is very likely no one has told you this fundamental truth about being human, but that does not change what is real. In these pages, we'll be talking a lot about what is real, and I'll be making the case that we, all of us together, and every one of us individually, actually live in a reality that is greatly expanded beyond what we think we can see and may have ever dared to imagine. In this expanded reality, our well-being is the primary purpose. You see, we are much more than the sum of our physical parts. We have always been much more, in spite of our modesty and primarily our fears and beliefs. I know that many of us feel sometimes, or many times, as if we are fighting an uphill battle. We struggle to realize our dreams and make our wishes come true. We may not believe that the things we want to attain are possible, but that rarely stops us from trying. Indeed, you have always had within you the very tools you need for just this purpose. In this book, we're going to call those tools your non-physical senses, a very different name than what you know them by. But this is not a semantic trick. In fact, you have all the senses for just this kind of knowing. I'm not suggesting you throw out anything you know about yourself, nor am I asking you to commit yourself to believing that what you've learned so far hasn't helped you in your life. You know too much for that. What I'm suggesting is, if you have ever felt there must be more for life than this, or asked yourself, can this be all there is? This book will prove you were right to ask. There's a big part of reality that's been here all along, and most of us have been taught carefully not to see it, much less try to know it and live it. And that is really what this book is about. So I want to stop here and ask if anybody has a question. Okay. Okay, so what I want to do first is give you a story, a history. It's about what the book is offering. It's about what I called your non-physical senses. I believe, and let me say that I researched this book for about 6 years. I read quantum mechanics and quantum physics. I read archaeology. I read ancient history. I read biology. I read and read and read and read and had this huge amount of information, and all of it was saying the same thing. And so when I talk about what I call expanded reality, know that it's not something that I have dreamed up. And if it is something I have dreamed up, we have all dreamed it up for ourselves. And that's an important thing to know. And it's, when I talk about the non-physical senses, that's where I want to go first, because the non-physical senses are really important. They are very familiar to every one of us, but we don't know the half of what they're for. And I have had a glimpse of what they're for. And so that's what I want to work with you on primarily. If you can get to thinking, well, I'm really curious about that by the time we leave each other this evening, that would be terrific, because that is those things are the keys to the kingdom. Those things are your imagination, your intuition, your feelings and emotions, your dreams, and your consciousnesses. And you probably never heard the word consciousnesses before. We don't tend to use it, but it is consciousnesses. And I will tell you why that has to be the case. So those are what I call non-physical senses. You all know about your physical senses, your eyes, your ears, your mouths, physical senses. What you don't know is we were born from the very first time a human stepped on the earth. We were born with non-physical senses. We were meant to live in a balance, a beautiful balance. We don't live in the beautiful balance anymore, because sometime in the Dark Ages, in the Middle Ages, we were deprived of this. We were deprived of the non-physical senses because the Church of England at the time decided that the people couldn't be trusted with that important information. And so what they did was deprive science of doing any research into what they called the mystical and magical. They are mystical and magical, and you've got them. And what I'm trying to get us to do is really get back to a balance. You know how to use your physical senses. That's how you know the world that you live in, this world that we all are sharing our little boxes with one another in. But you don't know that these are the access to expanded reality. We know, you know your imagination. I don't know about you, but I had a very vivid imagination as a child, and my mother wanted me to know that it was okay to have that, but I had to understand that nothing that my imagination dreamed up was real. I loved my mother dearly, but she was wrong. There is nothing in this world, in this universe, that didn't start out in someone else's imagination. Everything you see, from the mountains to the pizzas and everything between and everything around that, started as someone's imagination. Your imagination is generally known to scientists as one of the most powerful energies that exists. And you will see, once we get back to looking at all five, how it fits. The second one is your intuition. Intuition, this is the way I don't know if it came from the church, but came from somebody. It used to be called women's intuition. It was that cute, adorable thing that women had. They just liked to tell you what they just knew. They just knew it from their hearts. And it was so minimized in the universe that people don't know that it is not something that women have only. Women choose to use their intuitions but men have exactly the same adorable intuition as women have, because it is such an important part of who you are and how you live in your world, in your universe. With your intuition, you have something that is walking with you, driving with you, sleeping with you, eating with you. Your intuition is memorizing everything that you are seeing and learning and knowing. And it's there to tell you, no, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. The wheel, you remember the wheel. This is what the wheel is. That's what your intuition does. But we learned not to trust our intuitions because only women had them and they weren't really serious business. And so what happened is we don't trust our intuitions and our intuitions stopped working. You don't hear the voice that is your inner voice because you've been trained not to listen for it anymore. So you have a little bit of work to do, or we have a little bit of work to do with our intuitions before we can get them up and running. The third is your feelings and emotions. Emotions operate a little bit differently than feelings, but basically they're doing the same things. So your feelings. I used to think my feelings were my enemies. When my husband died, I didn't want to hear feelings. I didn't want to hear the word. I didn't want to hear my feelings. I didn't want to know about it. I didn't want to be bothered about it. And so I decided my feelings were my enemies. And I'm so surprised to tell you that in the hundreds of people I've talked to about my work, most people think that their feelings are their enemies, that they don't even understand why they have to have feelings. What are they supposed to be doing? All they do is torture me. I fall in love and I don't know, pardon my language, from my ass to my elbow. And I can't figure out what life is about. And if I'm really down and down and down, I just can't get myself up because I just feel terrible. So I'm like a slave to my feelings. That's not what your feelings are for. Your feelings are there as the part of you that says, pay attention, something is going on. Pay attention. Because if you don't pay attention, what happens with your feelings is that they go over into your brain. They start in your mind, they go over to your brain, and once they get into your brain, they become thoughts. And once they become thoughts, you can't feel them anymore. You can't remember what the feeling was. You need to know that you're having a feeling, because that feeling is a reaction to something that just happened somewhere in your life. And you need to know what that is. You need to hold on to the feeling so you can use it while you decide, well, what am I feeling and what do I want to do about this feeling? Feelings are really best friends. They protect you. So you may have some, I know that I have had some work to do with my feelings. I made peace with them. I'm okay, but if you need to talk to somebody about that experience, I'm very happy to talk with you about it. But please, please, please get to know your feelings and trust them. They are part of your life, like your lifeline. And the fourth one is your dreams. You know about your dreams. They're so stupid that you just want to ignore them. And they're so complicated, they're so convoluted that you can't figure them out by yourself. You have to go and buy a dream dictionary or a psychologist or a psychiatrist to help you figure out what your dreams are. We do not understand dreams. We do not understand the purpose of dreams. And so most of us think they're good for a laugh. Really, they're good for a laugh, because you'll tell somebody, you'll go to the office and you'll tell your friends, I had the wildest dream, and then you'll tell them the dream, and everybody will be laughing, and they'll say, oh, what a great imagination you have. And then they'll forget, and you will forget all about it. That's not what dreams are. They are so important that they cannot be ignored. Your dreams are there for you to work out your business. They work with your imagination. They look to your imagination, and then they play out your imagination. So let's say that you were the next person to create an amazing thing. We don't have to name what the naming thing, what name the thing, but there's this thing, and you're thinking, I could get a copyright on this, and it'll be great, because this is a great thing, a great product to put into the universe, to put into the world. You will then dream about that very thing, and you will make your mistakes and correct them in your dreams. And you will find in your dreams that everything there has something to do with something here and with something here. You will see that when you're dreaming, let me ask you, is there anybody here who keeps a dream journal other than me? Linda? Nate?
No, not anymore. I used to.
Okay. How long ago did you have
Oh,
it?
it's been a while. It's been over 15 years.
Okay. And was there a reason that you, and you don't have to answer this, this question if you don't want to, but I'm just out of curiosity, was there a reason why you made a decision to stop dreaming?
It was after I got married and then, became a mom, and I just stopped journaling. Still having the great dreams. I have epic dreams, and I used to keep track of them. But after I got married, I just stopped doing my daily journaling.
Well, I think that most of us do when we get to a part of our lives where we feel like, okay, it's smooth sailing, we stop keeping the journal. I also did the same thing, but then when I started researching dreams for the book, I realized that I had been hasty, because they are really important. They always have something to tell you. Sometimes you'll just be playing, and that's really cool. Sometimes it's just really silly. Sometimes you'll dream a great big huge tree that scared the bejesus out of you, and so you didn't want to remember that. But that same tree showed up 2 weeks later as the most nurturing tree that walked with you, actually walked with you. You want to remember that tree. So across the board, we can use our dreams. We are meant to use our dreams. If you want to remember dreams, I know that the remembering part is really difficult, but what I do know is that all you have to do is say before you fall asleep, that the last thing you say is, I want to remember my dreams. It may not happen the first day, it may not happen the second day. Sometime around the third and fourth days, it will start to wake you up so that you will be able to write it out immediately and go right back to sleep. And I'm telling you that from my own experience. The feelings that you get from your dreams are the most important part. So if you can't remember the tree and you can't remember the silly thing, there was a silly thing that went on in a dream, you may not get the laugh at the office, but you may get the feeling of that dream. And that dream is something that can be saying something to you that you need to know, you need to remember. And you'll want it. And I recommend, again, here is another non-physical energy that is there to help you live your life. All of I'm going to get to consciousness in a minute, but all of these tools are vital to our lives because they are the access to expanded reality. They were intended to be the access to expanded reality. They were intended to be part of our lives because here, you know what you've got. We don't have to go into it. But here is where love comes from. Here is where you learn about loving and how to love. Here is where you create. We were meant to be totally creative people. Totally. It's not a coincidence that the imagination is always dreaming something up. It's meant to be doing that because we are co-creating our own reality. It's our reality, an individual reality, and it's also the cosmic reality and the communal realities that we're creating. They've got to come from somewhere. So these are vital. And yet what we tend to think of them, if we think of them at all, as some of what I said before, feelings are a pain in the ass, and you don't really want to get to know them because there's too much trouble there, or your imagination is not reliable, or your dreams are totally neurotic, and all of that is just, let's not get involved. You can't, you're missing. It's what you know, your body, your mind, your heart know that you are missing some part of you. And it's such an important part that I want to enable all of us to really get there, to work with those and know them. So the last one, of course, is consciousness. Consciousness is very interesting all by itself because it's changing. It really and truly, this thing that we call consciousness is changing. Your children and grandchildren have different DNA. Their consciousness is different. And that's really important because the world, the universe, which has also always been expanding, is expanding. Consciousness itself is expanding. That's why the change in the DNA. And there are children who already are prepared for the next part of life for the world. And for us, there's an opportunity to, excuse me, I'm opening something to put into my mouth so I don't lose my voice. It's so cold in my bedroom that I'm losing my voice. Let me go back a little bit. Consciousness is expanding. That's what we do with consciousness. And the more we can enable our consciousness, which is naturally expanding, to expand, the more we can do that, the more we will be able to, one, access expanded reality, two, be able to live in this world as this world is changing. 3, be allies for the young people who are coming up, many of them who are being born. Well, let me just keep going. Many of them have different ways of knowing the world. They're knowing the world this way. And they are not finding what they expect to find. They are not finding, in many cases, they're being born to parents who are not living this way. And they are lost and they're looking for allies. We are the perfect allies because we are the women who have and men who are on the cusp, let's say. And if you're wondering why I have written she, her in my name in my little box, Maylene, I see you have the same. I'm not surprised. I have it because I have a friend who is just starting college, and she is one of those children who knows who she is, what she wants, and she will not settle for less than that. She wants not to be tagged as this, that, or the other thing. And out of respect for her and her mom, I changed my name on Zoom because I want to be someone that she can feel comfortable talking to and knowing when she gets to the point of, this is so aggravating to me, or this is so stupid to me, or whatever it is that she comes up with. And my hope for my generation, most of you are in my generation, all of you mostly, and I want my generation to be the allies. I want us to be the people who have expanded our consciousnesses and done it deliberately so that these young people will know that there are places to go, will know that there are people out there who are willing to get over themselves and be with them, to show them what is going on in the world and how it looks from that perspective, and helps them figure out their perspective. And all, you know who the kids are. You've seen them all over the place. They are the protesters with the Black Lives Matter. And they are the ones with the doing the work of to save the environment. That's who those kids are. So our consciousness expanding is beneficial not just to us, which it certainly is, because it gets us to expanded reality, but it gets us into a part of the world that we may want to be in if we can help. So that's the story of consciousness. I'm going to stop for a minute and have my cough drop and ask if you have any questions or comments, any things that you want to know more about.
Dina, I have a couple of things that came to mind when you were speaking. You answered already for me because it was really great about the dreams. You know, because that's one of the things I do journal, but I have not journaled dreams. And my question was, I always forget, right? I forget my dreams. But the thing I really heard from you about saying at night, you know, remember my dreams, is that I do remember the feelings. Like I can come out of a dream and I may not remember it, but it's the feelings. So just, you know, just want to make sure I heard you. So it's super important. Like, so I don't even, it doesn't matter about my imagination part hasn't connected yet because I haven't said that to myself enough, but like the feelings of it, I can write that down because many times,
Yes.
like you said, now I can connect to the feelings, which I love because so many times I push away those feelings that are painful, right? But that's so important for me to allow those painful feelings to rise up because it's supporting me in something that I'm not dealing with. Is that what you're kind of saying?
Yes, it's exactly what I'm saying. And if the only thing you remember is the feeling that the dream left you with, know that that dream was an important one, because whatever you're feeling is something that you will see again and again in subsequent dreams. And so you'll be able to, even though it's not the same dream, or sometimes we do have the same dream, or
Oh, yeah.
very much of that dream is in that dream. That happens as well. So
Yes.
that would be the first thing. If that's the only thing you come away with, that's really great. But then you know that there's something that you have to be working on.
Yeah, because I can feel that in a week or two of like this similar wake up from a dream at that same feeling, right? The other piece, which really had me rise up, and I've got lots of mom friends on here, you know, like people, is when you said the children of today, of their DNA is very different. Two things came up for me. For you guys who don't know, Dina already knows, and some other people. My husband Josh always has shared with me that how he felt so different as a child, you know, so different that he had all these cousins to play with and they'd play all these typical games and he was fun, and then he got bored, and he was very connected to nature, and then would draw things, you know, like circles and very much like constellation kind of stuff. He's very much into that, and his cousins would make fun of him, right? He just always felt that deep connection. So he's always been, for me, like, your book was so beautiful to like kind of share that with him from this expanded reality. Having a 4-year-old and an adopted 4-year-old, like, I totally get you, because I'm in a lot of moms groups, and those moms that don't yet know even the conversation we're talking about, I'm talking like hundreds of moms that I've spoken with and seen and read, talk about this generation of the youngest, not even the ones that you're talking about protesting, but really 2016, like the 5 to 6, you know, within the past 10 years of, and I'm interested for Belinda to answer this too, is they have such this connection that I've taken my whole life to go in personal growth and development courses.
That's right.
And, you know, read your books and have all of that. It's like incredible. So I just wanted to, you know, put that out there, and interested in people like Maddie Lynn or Belinda who might want to speak about that, because she has incredible children who I feel, you know, and Belinda, like, you know, speak for yourself, that I feel are just definitely tapped in differently, that we've been working so hard to tap into. Does that make sense? So I don't know.
It makes a lot of sense. Let me just, I want to recommend a book for Josh to read.
Sure.
Because,
not for everybody.
Anne,
I'll get to your question. Anne is asking, is this the Indigo Children? And we'll get to that after your, if you want to.
yeah, yes, it is. It is. The book I wanted to recommend is The Drama of the Gifted Child.
Okay, The Drama of the Gifted Child. I'm going to put it in for everybody too.
Yeah, good. It's written by Alice Miller. When a teacher of mine urged me, if not ordered me, to get this book and read it, I thought, gifted? I'm not a gifted child. I wasn't a gifted child. I was an ordinary child. And I found myself on every page of this book. And it was the first book that ever explained to me who I was and why certain things that I was trying to be and do were not working for me. So I recommend it to anybody who either knows a child or an adult who went through that.
Great. And Jade Young came on late. So Jade, you're unmuted.
Yes.
Hi, come. You have a question?
Yes, I do. first of all, I'm so thrilled, Dina. I'm just really delighted you're doing this, and what a wonderful opportunity for all of us. So I want to express my gratitude to you and Regina and anyone else who had a part in planning this. About this whole topic of awakening and consciousness, and
Yes.
I wondered if we could back up a bit. What I would like to have you just maybe share a bit about what moved you to write this book. What was there for you in your own life, your own journey that led you in this direction? Whatever you can say, because clearly, I mean, it was something that had to have been significant for you to take this time to read and research. And but what was going on for you that you felt like, oh, I really need to do this?
It's so interesting that you would ask me that question, Jade. It's so in line with how we know each other. So thank you for that. Yeah, I would love to. I wanted to write this book in 1974 when I didn't know anything about anything. And then I went to life and got very busy and forgot all about it. Well, I didn't really forget all about it, but I knew that I couldn't write it at that time. But I got to a point where I was reading quantum physics books. And well, even before that, no, I would say that about sometime in 1979, I read an article in the New York Times that said there was something in the universe that was holding the whole thing together. And the scientists didn't know what it was, so they called it gluon. And I loved the word gluon because I have still, thank goodness, I have my vivid imagination. And what I saw when I looked at the sky forever after, it was like a wet painted backdrop for a Broadway play, and it was sort of drippy, and it was honey because it was gluon after all. And then I started to think, if science is going to figure out sometime when or that there is something more up there in the universe, I want to pay attention to what science is doing, because I want to be there when science says, we've discovered that there is a whole other universe there, or a bigger universe there. And so I imagined the waiting was like this. They started out here, science and spirituality, and all of what we call spirituality. And it was coming up around, and there was this gap. And sometime this gap was going to be filled, because science would admit, finally, what I had known all along. Not because I was going to show to science, but because they had a longer way to go, because scientists were denying whatever there was. But the spiritualists have known it since, I would have to say, since ancient Egypt. So I wanted to write this book first because I wanted to normalize what I thought was spirituality. Because as I indicate in the book, I felt that we have all experienced what the spiritualists know, We have all lost, and you know this from your work, we have all lost people. And the people we have lost have taken very interesting roads. We all know that something has to be there. We all know that maybe sometime we'll find it, but nobody talks about it. It's a very fearsome subject. We don't want to talk about things like dying anyway. But I wanted to write this book that would normalize spirituality in a way that took in the channeling and the out-of-body experiences and all of that stuff, because it seemed normal to me. When I started to read quantum physics, I saw how close the scientists were coming to the spiritualists. And that's when I started writing the book. I started it first because I was coming from the science end, and I wrote and wrote and wrote, and all of a sudden I started moving in a different direction. The book, as I was working on my keyboard, the book was moving in a different direction. And I said, no, I can't write that book yet. I don't know enough to write that book yet. So I just ignored that. And it kept taking me in a different direction. I walked away from it for 3 days. And at the end of the 3 days, I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to pretend I'm going to write that book, and we'll see how it goes. I'm not making any promises. If I don't want to do it, if I can't do it, I'm just going to leave it. And that's the end of this book. And I started to write this book. And that's how this book was born. And my dedication in this book is dedicated to my co-authors who choose to remain invisible. I wasn't channeling the book, but there were beings on my head, on my shoulders, over my shoulders, and they were, no, this. They would wake me up in the middle of the night to say, no, that chapter should be called that, or the book should be called that. And that's how that went for me. And so I realized at the end of having the book written that this is what it is. And I really want this book to get out into the world, because this is a really feel-good book. This book is based on the premise that being a human is an extraordinary thing to be. We are so powerful. We are so amazing. We are so creative. We are so loving. The loving we're sort of having to work on because we didn't know. But all of that is there in human. And I want human to know what it's all about, what it is to be human.
Beautiful. Well, if I may just say a few words to respond.
Sure, yeah.
When you shared about, as you were writing the book at the keyboard and you kept being nudged in another direction,
Right.
I had to smile, because it sounded to me like you were experiencing, this is just how I would describe it, that maybe spirit or whatever that within you was really moving you in a deeper direction that maybe your rational mind didn't know. So you're saying, no, I don't not
Right.
want to go there. That was, we could say, the more rational part of you,
Right.
whatever we want to call it. And so I'm delighted to hear, though, that you put it away for a few days, you went back to it, and it would still move you in that direction.
Right.
I mean, that must have been really kind of a delightful, like when you surrendered to that, I was also part of it, I wonder.
It was wonderful, yes. And
Yes.
then I remembered that I wanted to write that book in 1974. So it was like, it was really lovely.
Yeah, so I just appreciate your sharing this, because I think it's what it says to me anyway, is that you were really at least listening, even though you had one idea in one direction, you were open and listening and paying attention to what was coming through, even though
Yes.
you kind of had some reluctance in the beginning. And then you finally really opened up and said, here, you know, the two hands opening.
Right. And so the message of this book is that all we have to do is surrender to it, because everything is there. You can see it, you can feel it. If we have time, I'd like to read 2 little pages about the making love part of the book, which I haven't shared with most people yet. But
Well,
we just don't know who we are. We don't know what we're capable of. We don't
yes,
know that each and every one of us has come here to be here at this time to do something. It's different for everybody, but everyone has come to do something, to play some role, to create what only they can create. And right now, I feel about this book that this is the contribution that I came to make.
yes. Well, you know, if others are open, I'd love to hear you read that portion that you just referenced.
Oh, she's
All
gonna,
about love.
we're ready. I think. Go
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's only 2 pages. Expanded reality can teach you to love yourself, and why that is so important for this time in your evolution. When you've learned that, you will lead with love, and you can teach the others with whom you are connected deeply. You can even help them learn to love themselves. In this way, you would be modeling the universe itself, whose consciousness is always invested in your well-being and love. By modeling it, you too will be making love. I can already see you rolling your eyes. I'm just going to look over there. What has making love got to do with any of this? Expanded reality is where love was born, where it emanates from, and where you first learned about it. You depend on it being so, even when you do not remember. You feel the safety of its unconditional love, unlimited love. It is ironic then that love may have become the most misunderstood and misspoken word name we have ever invented. Frankly, if you tell me you love me, I have no idea what you mean. I cannot know what love means to you, how it feels in your body, your mind, your brain, or in any of the consciousnesses of your cells. It is ironic, too, that if you tell me you love me, the love of which you speak immediately ceases to be your love. I have magically reconstituted it as my love, for whatever that means to me, without having had any conscious intention to do so. For your part, you can only guess what my mind has done with your love, what it means to me. Just imagine 2 people in love, hardly recognizing themselves and having no idea about each other either. The truth is, you can never really feel fully confident that I got what you meant when you said, I love you. You may not even feel fully confident you knew what you meant. As you probably know from experience, when you think you're falling in love, virtually every part of your body, and certainly the invisible parts, are all activated. Chemicals are released that impact you in many different ways, and you likely know nothing at all about them. You may only know your body feels like it's vibrating. No wonder love is the very thing causing people to say they hardly recognize themselves when they're in it. What would it mean for you to love yourself? For one thing, it implies relationship, which, as you know, always requires some effort, attention, and continuous nurturing. Loving oneself means not settling for a greeting card character, and no one else's prescription will ever suffice. Loving yourself is creating love, not to yourself or for yourself, but rather with yourself. Love in the eyes of the universe is not romantic nor sexual. It is not weak, for love is the only feeling that is strong enough to overcome fear. If this sounds elusive, know that love is not elusive. And if it is romantic, it is certainly not weak. Love is the strongest bond there can be, and it is everywhere in great abundance. In all the universe, there is love, and everything is made of love. You might be interested to know that money is love. That's the energy of money. Maybe the very definition of consciousness energy will one day be proven to have been love all along. And it was only in our confusion, our imbalances and misperceptions, and our fear that we missed knowing such a fundamental truth. Maybe one day you will be the person who makes the great uncovery in behalf of all of us. If so, I thank you in advance for your willingness to show us the way.
Whew. Anybody have anything they want to say about that?
May I please?
Sure, please.
So, first of all, thank you everyone for just having me here. My sister Belinda invited me, and she knew I would be in heaven because the things that you're speaking of in your book, and I'm looking forward to reading it, are things that I've studied for years. I'm fascinated by, and I like to integrate into my own life. So, like, this is awesome, Dina. To speak to what you were saying about love, love is a metaphysical contract. It's a covenant that's inside and outside of reality. That's what you're saying. And it's like giving me chills because we don't give enough weight to that world that's not within our physical realm. We don't give enough weight to that. That's outside of who we are.
That's right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It makes sense. Yeah.
Yes.
I
Because
think you've hit it right on the head.
yes, ma'am.
I'd
So,
like to add something. Are you finished, Regina?
I just wanted to speak to one more thing, but absolutely, please jump in before you
No,
lose your
go
thought.
ahead. Finish up.
And I wanted to speak on what you said about us having that imagination as children, that magic that we lose as we grow older and as we, bear the weight of the world and all of these burdens that we have,
Right.
and just getting back to that, because what we feel and what we believe, that's what we tend to manifest in our lives. And we have that power to create, and we lose it or we forget about it
Right.
as we grow. Yes.
That's right. But
And
there it is. It's right there in our hands.
yes.
And all we have to do is allow it to be, and it will be. And it's all there.
And it will be. Thank you.
Thank you, Regina. Thank you for coming.
Yes, I appreciate you all having me.
Susan? No, you're muted. Regina, can you, yeah, you
Yeah,
can let
yeah.
everybody.
I thought I had unmuted. So I was saying that I felt chills too when you were speaking about love. It's in the way that it is bigger than us, each of us.
Yes.
It's right. It's cosmic energy. People talk about that, and everybody goes poo poo, and and given the work that many of us here have done in Landmark, it brought to mind immediately when you invent a possibility of love that is more than you and includes everybody, and a possibility that inspires you to live into it, to live that way. So as a way of being, not being romantically in love necessarily, although that I guess that could be part of it, but of being the energy of love for each and every person. And that's what came to mind for me. And I have just actually taken a stand for love. And it is not something that in all the years that I've been doing this work, and in all the years that I've been growing up and dealing with life, it is not something that I paid attention to. So it's been a developmental process for me. Maybe these kids know it coming out of the womb, you know, which can only be a good thing for us.
Yes. Which is why I think it's so important for us to be allies for them.
And tell me what Indigo Kids are.
Indigo Kids started showing up in Japan in the 70s. And when they noticed that they were, however old they were, from 2.5 on up, they knew who they were, why they came, what their job was, what their purpose was, and they typically landed in families who could not handle them, didn't know what to do with them, and were not open to enabling a 2.5 to say what she needs, which is basically putting the generations at odds.
Yeah.
And there is a book called Indigo Kids. It's terrific. And I think that everyone should read it,
Okay.
including the Indigo Kids. But because
They'll have to legitimize
there are
themselves.
stories, yeah, there are stories in there for them about others like them.
Okay, got it. Thank you. And I have a
And that's-
request. I just have a request that when you speak to us, all the people here, please put your video on. I'm finding it a little jolting to hear you and not see you, if that would be okay with you. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
This is Terry Ferraro. I have a question. First
Hi,
of all,
Terry.
hi, thank you, Dina. I got on later. I had another commitment, and so I missed things, but I connected to a lot of things that you said. I read the Indigo Child book. I was with the Indigo Kids before they did the Indigo movie. I was at a psychic conference in Hawaii many years ago with one of the boys from Japan who was 9th dimension, with other kids that were 5th dimension, 6th dimension, and another woman named Grandma Chandra who was 13th dimension. I was there for a week with all of them in the convention. There were like 200 or 300 of us, and then they had the kids go to the camp. 5th and 6th were more like us. They just thought different, and it was interesting to listen to how they spoke. The 9th dimension from the boy from Japan looked like no control over his body whatsoever, but his mother eventually was able to talk to him with I don't say that right, abacus, when you move the little balls across.
Abacus.
So they were abacus. They were able to start communicating. So the father would hold him and the mother and help him, and then move it so the mother and he could talk to us. It was an awesome, incredible experience what they would have to say to us. And I don't even know why I was with all these people and and why I was I was put in this type of a situation, whatever, in 7 days, 10 days with all these kind of people, plus people probably from other dimensions. I know they were there too. Felt like I was in a Star Wars bar or something. They look human in a sense, but they all weren't exactly that. So that's another story. But and I also had experience the other day at church, and there was a woman with her son in the back in a big character, so I don't know if he was 10, 12, something. But he reminded me of the indigo or ninth dimension boy from Japan, because he had that same, like, not able to hold his body. And I went to Holy Communion. I'm Catholic, Christian. And I just was crying after communion. I was touched and moved and whatever just came over me. And I'm like, I just was crying. And I went over, I just felt very inspired to go to that mother. And I don't know what my role is or what there is for me to do or not, but I went over to the mother and she was so loving. And I had experience with kids that are psychic, intuitive, another dimension, they'd say they're special needs, whatever, because one of my girlfriends deals with special needs kids, and they're on another total level. But anyway, I just felt and I guess my point is, I don't know. Okay, so I said to her that, I don't know what I said, but I remember something about vaccines and shots and don't have, no, we didn't have anything. I said, good. Because I learned that changes their DNA and RNA, and then there goes that. Anyway, so I guess my point is, I talked to her for a little bit. I'll go talk to her again. I told her to look for Grandma Chandra, so she would have a little bit of, I guess my point is, somebody like this that might not have people to connect with, that have kids like this, is what you was talking about. I just felt the need that I needed to give her some sources or information or something for her and her son, so to speak. And I said something to her, and the mother's great. The mother was full of love. It was incredible. And I said, your son's special. He's going to make a difference in this planet. He's going to make a difference for us. I hope you know that. And she said, I do, she just smiled at me and said, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I said, I'll see her again. So I don't know.
Terry,
Yeah.
I have to stop you because we're getting close to the end of our
All right,
time
so that's
together.
fine.
I'd like to give everybody my email address. It's very simple. It's whydoifeel@gmail.com. And if you would write to me and give me your email address, I'd like to talk to you some more.
I put that for everybody in the chat room if you guys want to take down Dina's email address. Thank you, Terry, so much, because it was really beautiful to hear that experience, and Dina can support you a little bit deeper offline. But we appreciate you sharing about what she was talking about. Does anybody else have?
I just want to say in the email, excuse me, it says XOM, but you actually mean gmail.com, right? Or
Oh,
Gmail?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I wrote why do I feel at gmail.com on my end. That's what I see.
It looks like an X on my end.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's gmail.com.
Perfect.
Yes. Awesome. Yay. Awesome. All right, Dina, we got 15 minutes left, guys. So, there's a lot that Dina can share and unpack for you guys with regards to my favorite part. I said to her, she made it very simple in the layman's terms for me about the 5 non-physical senses. I feel like that's like super extraordinarily important for me to really tap into feelings and emotions, dreams, imagination, intuition, and consciousness. So those have been the areas that I conceptually understood, like from a concept. And then inside, for me, the book really helps me kind of really experience that in such a beautiful way. To me, she wrote it in such a personal way. And then I don't get to read, like, nobody's fault. I just haven't read and researched. So I'm excited as she shared like history from everywhere from, like she said, archaeology, and from science, like all of these things that she like brought in. So you brought in your science, because from my experience personally, there's people that are like, oh, here we are, the woo-woo people, woohoo, woo-woo people, you know, or like when Dina, when you say spirituality, you know, it's become such a term like spirituality, here are the new agers, right? Which I interpret, like your book helped me interpret, like how they're suppressing, like how like you said, back in the
That's right.
time where the church has suppressed, right? You know, and it didn't connect until I read that in your book, where I was like, wow, like the
Yeah.
suppression of when man created, and I don't mean man specifically, but man created, you know, that fear, and, you know, here's that religion that's going to now say all of those people forever, from the beginning of time, when you have tribes and you share with people the intuitive, the witch, the intuitive healer, and all of that then was considered wrong and bad, and people were burned at the stake, thousands and thousands of people. So I really appreciated you putting it in there, because I'm able to look at it here in my life and go, oh, just when I'm just sharing about your book or sharing about something I love, I can see the suppression. And it's nothing wrong. It's just how we've allowed that conversation to become like truth, right? Like, this is the truth. So for me, it helped me expand myself to be able to, you know, make a stand for that, like to say like, oh, okay, like that's here's a perspective, and can I share with you this perspective? And then I've got like me, I like it like Cliff Notes, you know, like here's some Cliff Notes and let me just share. I'm the non-scientist, you know, and then people start having a new conversation like, and that's how I got to share your book. So I just want to thank you on behalf of that for me, because I don't really have that language for it. So you've made it in such a way that I can share. And now I've got lots of new resources by you guys with the books that you said. So that's what I just wanted to say.
That's great. Thank you, Regina. That was my purpose. I really want people to know that it's not hard. It's just who we are. But we have come away from who we are in so many ways that half of us or more are just lost. And I wanted the book to be the breadcrumbs back to ourselves.
Dina, I want to thank you for sharing your beautiful book that you were working so hard on
Thank
for so many
you.
years with us. You know, a lot of what you said tonight and other people said tonight really just reminds me of like my indigenous people, like my indigenous ancestors, and like what this land was before colonization, and how there were all these communities of people that had these traditions and cultural upbringings, and really like a spiritual way of life that was so connected to the planet and so connected to the universe and to math and science and you know, the things that came from their imagination, the things that came from their dreams, just what was created, and how, you know, in the process of like colonization and really like the religious movement, you know, in the wanting to have this one way of looking at the world versus these multiple ways of looking, like you said, like this was seen as forbidden, as like,
Right.
you know, just completely squashed down. And I think a lot of people like nowadays are starting to really draw from their ancestors or from that history that's only been passed down in story and from like grandparents and elders. And I think what's wonderful is that with the young people that are coming in, like my children, like I feel like they're just a reminder of who we've always been and forgotten who we've been. And so like they're just so pure in it, you know, like they're just so natural, like the plants, you know, in the way that they
Right.
grow and express. And and it's like difficult to even like parent because, you know, you've been conditioned to
That's right.
get that out of you, right? And so
That's right.
then you have this hunger to nurture it in your children, and even in trying to nurture it because you're trying to keep your children safe, or you're trying to help your children adapt or assimilate to the way the world is, then you reinforce the thing that is suppressing you in your life, and you build that on you kill the spirit in them in a way, you know, without
Yes,
even wanting to.
exactly.
And it's so it's such a it takes so much intention to live with that awareness and consciousness, to be able to say, like, almost unschooling, you know, like almost like uh allowing the freedom to exist, allowing the being to exist, and really dealing with your own discomforts in watching that spirit, you know, and being able to learn from the young kids that are coming into,
Right.
and allowing them to guide you and remind you of who you are, and that uh it's okay, you know what I mean, that like it's okay to like
Yeah.
be in it, you know. And I think that listening to your body, and that listening to um those energies, like you said, that like intuitively tell you, um you know, that thing that like is so quiet because you've quieted for so long,
Right.
and it takes something to like be in it, and allow it to guide you, you know. But
So I'm so glad that you brought it up, Marilyn, because once we get back to ourselves, we will be better partners for being able to learn about one another. And that's a job that you as parents, you and Graham, shouldn't be doing by yourselves. There's a community, but the most of the community isn't aware of who they are and what they can be and who they can be for other people.
I think that those communities are rising though. There's a lot of,
They
you
are,
know,
for
like
sure.
especially like on Instagram, like I know a lot of like, you know, Afro-Dominican women who are doing a lot of spiritual work, and especially like tapping into like the roots of our ancestors. Um, that type of healing work that takes a lot of courage to do in
Right.
this you know, in the Western civilization.
Right, and that's what I mean. The Western
Yes.
civilization needs to learn all of the
Yeah.
things that they never learned because they were told that it wasn't important for them to know that.
And those voices were suppressed, you know,
Yeah,
like those voices weren't
that's
looked
right.
at as like, they weren't invited to the table. They were hidden, and like and convinced others that it was a lie, or that wasn't
Right.
a good way to heal. Um, but yeah, it's I think it's amazing. Like I love it. It makes me want to go and learn more, um, and tap into that.
Marilyn.
Yeah.
Hi. Oh, may I speak, you all, to add something to what you said? Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Regina. We got a couple more minutes, so I just want to
Okay.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was trying to put it in the chat, but I'll try to type it very quickly. It's a poem by Native American poet laureate Joe Harjo. And the title of the poem is For Calling the Spirit Back from Wandering the Earth in His Human Feet. And it speaks of what you just said. And absolutely love that poem. I can't hear you. Oh,
Yeah,
Regina, would you send it to me and I'll send it to everybody else?
absolutely.
yeah.
That would
You
be,
can just
that would
type
be
in the
lovely.
name. Type in the name
Thank you.
Regina in the chat because we get to save all of this.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Dina. So I got this wonderful request, and I really think this is perfect because we said, although we started a few minutes late, we are going to be very responsible for people's time and generosity. I want to thank everybody for choosing to be part of this event this evening and choosing this for yourself to be in this
Thank
conversation.
you, Dina, for having me as well.
Oh, Benjamin, it was
Just wanted to add a little bit.
wonderful.
I definitely understood everything you were saying with the the 5 non-senses that we have, but aren't tapped into spiritually, and just pushing ourselves and reacquainting ourselves with that energy again to make the world about a better place. Because once we tap into it, then the world can definitely heal itself.
Definitely.
Woohoo.
Thank you.
So we
And you carry the message. Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
awesome. So here's our request, which I'm going to be the overall agreeer for, is we would like for you to take just the next few moments and really like pick any and share any like special gems, like meaningful gems for you from your book to share with us, like any piece of like that deep wisdom. I know you've been sharing a lot, but like, you know, right now just get present to your book again, and anything that you feel like you want to kind of just, you know, reignite or share something again with us. And you could read a passage or whatever that may be.
No, I think what I would like to do is say that in the writing of this book, I really learned what it means to be human. And it is more than I ever imagined. And I want so much for all of those people who have jobs that they hate because they have to feed their children. I want them to get the message that they are really extraordinary just because they were born in a human body. And anything that I can do to enable that or help enable that is something that I want to do. And so all of you can now, I will deputize you, and you can all go out and into the circles that you are familiar with, and just let people know that there is so much more to being human. We got lost in the yada, yada, yada. And it's time for us to come back because there's a lot of work to do.
Beautiful.
So thank you. I thank you all for coming.
Beautiful. Maddie Lynn just put into, so you guys, I don't know if you know that in the chat that you guys can, you know, literally save the chat. And so, but I'm also took all this information and I'm going to send you an email out with all of the books that Dina mentioned. And then, you know, she'll add as well. Dina and I are going to talk about this afterward, and we'll give you everything that there is to know that you want, any information, including how to reach out to her and have more conversations. If anybody would like to come off one more time and say anything before we get to say goodnight. Jade, you want to say something?
Oh, wow. Well, just what a blessing. I just want to say, dearest Dina and all who are gathered here, what a joyful time to come and hear this message. First of all, I think, you know, when I look at wherever we are and however we are, to know that we're really amazing and that life is extraordinary. And I want to thank you, Dina, for all the love, sweat, and tears that you've poured into this, I'm sure, along the way. And at some point, I want to hear more about, for you, when you said in writing the book, you got so aware of how amazing it is to be a human. And I think we're scratching the surface is what I would like to say. So
Yes.
we all have our own work to do, to go deep and to go wide and to really then share the joy.
Thank you, Jade.
Yeah, thank you, dear one. I do need to leave. Just love you so much. Thank you.
So thank you for coming.
Before, are you leaving right now, Jade? Are you getting off right at this moment?
Oh,
Okay.
I was planning to.
All right, I'm going to ask for a really quick favor. And Regina, I don't know if you can come off of your beautiful, so I can see your face, but I want to take a picture
Oh, a snapshot.
Yeah.
Oh, how lovely.
Oh, my good side. Okay.
So Terry, I don't see you because I don't know, but Regina, I don't know if you can come off because I only see your beautiful face, and Belinda, I only got your gallery. But all together now, let's all smile. And we're gonna say 1, 2, 3, and one more time. I'm gonna make it a little wider and get 1, 2, 3, and boom. We've got it. I love you guys.
Oh, Terry, thank you for coming back.
Yeah. Oh, there's Terry. Oh, Terry's back. Wait, you got
No,
your
no, you got her.
Okay, good. I got you.
I don't know where Belinda is.
Yeah, that's
Did
all
you
right.
get Benjamin? I don't know. Did you get Benjamin in?
No,
the
Yes,
Benjamin.
Benjamin was in.
He was in, then he left.
Okay, perfect.
Yay. And yes, I've got pictures of people. I'm gonna put them in the boxes. So on behalf of Dina and myself, we are having a conversation about continuing this, conversation in other ways. And I just love each and every one of you. This book has helped me really get that we don't have to know each other to know we know each other. Like, right? Because we are all one. We really are all one. And so I appreciate each and every one of you for taking your time, because you could have been anywhere else and you chose to be here in this conversation. And I know
Exactly.
that's amazing.
Next time, Dina and Anne will have no coats on and no hats on and no long underwear and,
Yeah.
and
They'll
all
feel like
that.
Texas. They feel like sunny
Yes.
California.
And I love you all. Most of you I know, not all of you, but as Regina said, we know who you are because you're here. And this is a conversation that's unique. And I hope that we can have it again. I know we'll have it again. Thank you, my dear friends, Dina and Regina.
Hey.
Dina, thank you so much. Just wanted to say so many things you said deeply resonated with me, especially about the dreams and things like that. And just thank you so much. I'm going to thoroughly enjoy finishing this book.
Thank you, Belinda. Thank you so much.
I'd like to say
Email
thank
me.
you. Thank you, Dina. It was a beautiful book, a wonderful experience. Thank you, Susan, for
Thank you,
introducing me
Betsy.
to Dina and this group. And, it very much resonated for me, things that I've been experiencing on the fringe my whole life, and a place that I plan on getting back into more thoroughly and more deeply.
Good
Thank
for
you.
you. Let me know if I can help.
I will.
Okay.
Thank
Yes.
you, Dina, and thank you,
Okay.
Regina, for putting this together. Dina, I'm about a third of the way in to the book. I'm loving it.
Oh, thank you, Debbie.
Your way of seeing the world and seeing humanity is just really special. So I'm glad to be on the journey with you.
Thank you. Me too.
Stay warm.
Yes. Yes.
Try.
Awesome.
Bye, everybody.
All right, everybody.
Bye.
Yay.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Dina.
coming. Have
Glad
a
to be here.
beautiful one.
Bye, Benjamin.
Bye,
Bye, Dina. Thank
Benjamin.
you very
Bye,
much.
Maddie Lynn. Kiss the babies for me.
I'm going.
Okay.
Luna's
Bye.
going crazy. Good
Oh,
night.
no.
No,
We
she has to
can't have
go out.
that.
Gotta go. We gotta go.
Okay.
Sorry.
Bye.
All right.
Bye, Betsy. Bye, bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, Linda.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you for coming, Linda.
Thank you for being Soul Sister.
Ah, I love that.
Yeah.
So beautiful. Awesome. And we
Okay.